3 months in the NT. Well, where do I start? We arrived in the NT just before Christmas. Ouch, it was so hot. 47 degrees, that's all. And I broke down on the side of the road for 24 hours. That's my introduction to the NT. NT is not unfamiliar to me. I've had many times come here. It's actually a little bit of a favourite spot. I love the enormity, the isolation, the diversity, and the people of the NT are so incredibly different to the rest of Australia, in my opinion. My 24 hours on the side of the road was definitely not daunting. I did not feel scared. I slept with the doors open all night long, and not at one stage did I feel scared. I think probably because the road was so dry, so there was no water anywhere, which meant that there was going to be no wildlife in the middle of the road in the middle of the night, which means I could actually very comfortably sleep with all my doors open. I was so grateful for the road trains that came through at all hours of the night, because they let this enormous breeze just come straight through the camper and shook it to let me know that I was still alive. Anyway, I got rescued. I built a strong client base in Katherine, and throughout that client base I have built a really, really lovely friendship connection with a few people, and they all came to my rescue, and it was just easy. It was really lovely. Katherine is a really lovely little town. I really enjoy it. I find it, once again, really easy to just slot into. There is a very organic stench in the Katherine shopping centre that you get used to. It is organic, so it's supposed to be good for you. Your attitude is quite different. Once again, you just don't have to get dressed to go anywhere. But the heat, oh my gosh. I can't even begin to describe to you what it feels like to be constantly wet with humidity. Cairns is dreadful. I did last summer in Cairns. This summer I did in Katherine, and it's just, it's just awful. The weather is awful. But the greenery, to see Katherine at its best during the wet season, is nothing short of a privilege. It's just incredibly beautiful. The lifestyle properties, when they're green, are just so different to what they normally are when the tourist seasons come through. I think to travel when you go off season to any of these remote areas and see them when the tourists aren't there is just, you see it at its best and at its worst, because you have to fight the weather to be able to see the beauty. I then went down, I had Christmas at Alice Springs and the New Year in Alice Springs, where the weather I enjoy. It was 47 degrees, but it was dry, so it was easier to live in because you were just hot, not hot and wet. I loved every minute of it. Once again, Alice Springs is not a place that you would go out in the middle of the night or at dark at all, because it is known to be dangerous. I don't often go out in the dark anyway. Once I park the camper up, I'm quite happy to actually just stay home. It is a place that you can just slot into and be anonymous. If you want to see Australia and its culture, go to Alice Springs. It is just so unique. It is so incredibly unique. It is... Don't bother being racist if you come here, because you're just not going to fit. If there's no grey area, there is just no grey area at Alice Springs. It's in your face, and if you don't like that, don't come. The beauty of Alice Springs is that you're surrounded by bush, but it's a dry bush, and rock. It's so beautiful. I just think Alice Springs is the most unique place in Australia, and I think its beauty all year round is incredibly beautiful. I miss seeing the Todd River flow by a week, which I'm a bit disappointed too, so I stole everyone else's photos and just pretended that I saw it. But I think it would be incredibly beautiful and a privilege to be able to see it when it was flowing. I then went to Tennant Creek where I spent time with a friend, and once again Tennant Creek has got a little soft spot for me because again it's a place that you can just slot into and you're just anonymous. That's how I see the whole of the Northern Territory. I don't particularly enjoy Darwin just because it's another city, but the national parks like Kakadu and Litchfield are just beautiful. The things I learnt are don't bother with the hospital and doctor's appointments. Unless you're really, really, really sick, just don't take up an appointment. It is so... They have 2 doctors in Katherine. I tried to get an appointment and I had to wait 3 weeks. All I wanted was a prescription, so I just rang my GP in Townsville and he faxed it through to me. Honestly, it's insulting to the locals if you take up a doctor's appointment for something so simple that you can actually fit in or wait until you get to a bigger region. The doctor's appointments are valued by the locals, and as far as I'm concerned, as a tourist, you should go to the bottom of the list unless it's an urgent matter. The other thing is when you're travelling off season, you get the caravan parks to yourself, you get the roads to yourself, and you see the locals living in the conditions that we only hear about and read about. It's an absolute treat. It is just so overwhelming to actually see how they cope in the season that we all, as tourists, run away from. I really, really enjoyed being a part of the community and seeing it when it's just so incredibly hot, wet, and quiet. Alice Springs, getting back to Alice Springs, I find the dryness easy. I learnt that basic things. You jump out of the car, I leave all my doors open, I put my hand on the boot to shut it, and it burns my hand. I drive out of the camp, I put my fingers on the little remote control, it burns my hands. It is so incredible. This is 47 degrees. It burns. It burns your fingertips, everything you touch. This is 47 degrees in the city. Half of the population in Alice Springs work in the bush where it's 55 degrees. I don't know how they do it. It's really, really brought a huge opening to me of how the bread is put on the table for many, many families in the Northern Territory. Families that are disjointed during the week because dad is working remote in the most dreadful conditions that I couldn't even give you an hour. When you're in the heat of 55 degrees, every single thing you touch if it burnt me at 47, imagine what it's going to do at 55. I couldn't fathom it. I really, really learnt the empathy of families and how they earn their dollar. I also learnt that how can I put it? I have to think about that one. I'll come back to you. But anyway, wrapping it up in a nutshell, my time in the Northern Territory off-peak in the wet season is definitely worth a visit. If you want to see Australia, see it in the off-peak and in the peak because it is so different. If you want to see Australia and feel Australia, visit the NT. It's like all on its own. No rules. Fabulous, fabulous. I'm preparing to cross the border over the next couple of weeks and head into South Australia, so I've got to tidy myself up, but not my hair because that's just going to stay frumpy. But I've tidied myself up and get my South Australian look on. Thanks everybody.